Good evening, you're watching AWANI Tonight with me, Farhana Sheikh. Individuals sentenced to more than 10 years in prison will not be eligible for house arrest. Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail says the proposed house arrest law will apply only to those in remand detention waiting their trial dates for non-serious crimes.
The bill, he said, was to address the issue of remand detainees, not convicts. He said there are currently 28,000 detainees under remand, while prisons only have capacity for 74,000 inmates. Saifuddin was responding to questions by several MPs on whether former Premier Datuk Sri Najib Razak would be allowed to serve the remainder of his prison sentence at home. Saifuddin stressed that the High Court had already dismissed the former Prime Minister's claim of a royal addendum as hearsay in July, and the matter should not be revisited. The house arrest bill was proposed during Budget 2025 as an alternative punishment for certain offences.
U-Mobile was selected as the country's second 5G network provider through an open tender process and not via direct award. Communication Minister Fahmi Fazil says the process conducted by the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, or MCMC, includes a thorough and an independent evaluation of the company.
The selection was based on key factors includes company's business and technical plans, customer satisfaction record, and past infrastructure performance. He emphasized that this decision must be respected by all parties as it was made through a fair and rigorous process. He also highlighted that U-Mobile's foreign equity ownership complies with the special license conditions, which require a maximum of 49% foreign ownership and at least 30% Bumiputra equity holding. U-Mobile has committed to reducing foreign ownership to 20% to ensure greater local control.
The Public Accounts Committee will summon Khazanah Nasional Berhad and Permodalan Nasional Berhad PNB over the 43.9 million ringgit loss in their investment in Fashion Valet. Chairperson Dato' Mas Irmiati Samsudin says the proceedings are expected to commence in the second week of December.
Khazanah had invested 27 million ringgit and PNB another 20 million ringgit for a minority stake in the local fashion retailer in 2018. However, they sold their stake for 3.1 million ringgit at the end of last year to NXBT Partners, an investment holding company controlled by Afzal Abdul Rahim, the CEO of Time.com Berhad. Mas Irmiati said representatives from the two companies will also be called in the second week of December.
Meanwhile, Fashion Valet founders Datin Vivi Yusof and her husband Dato' Fazaruddin Shah Anwar were called in for questioning by the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC for the third time. They arrived at the MACC headquarters around 2:30 p.m. today. Anti-graft officials reportedly searched their house on Wednesday evening and confiscated several items, including 11 handbags and 1 luxury watch. The couple's personal and company bank accounts, said to be worth 1.1 million ringgit, have been frozen pending investigation. The case is being investigated under Section 18 of the MACC Act 2009. Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim hopes the new US presidency under Donald Trump will usher in positive changes in bilateral relations, trade and geopolitics. Speaking during his working visit to Beijing, he says this includes efforts to end Israeli violence in Gaza as well as the conflict in Ukraine.
Ini keputusan rakyat Amerika dalam sistem demokrasi dan kita harus hargai. Kita ucap tahniah, tapi seperti biasa kita mengharapkan suatu yang baik dari hubungan dua hala, dari segi perdagangan dan dari sikap Amerika, dan kita akan sambut baik kalau sikapnya positif. Ini termasuklah umpamanya jalan ke arah kedamaian, menghentikan serangan ganas ke atas Gaza dan mengiktiraf hak mutlak sahih rakyat Palestin dan juga cari kaedah pendamaian Ukraine. Dan ini akan membantu penyelesaian ekonomi dunia juga.
Anwar also emphasized that Malaysia maintains a neutral stance in matters of trade, investment, and leadership, upholding its principle of centrality. However, he said China is seen to have a closer stand with Malaysia compared to most other countries, including trade and the ongoing situation in Gaza. Regarding ties with the United States, Anwar highlighted Malaysia's investment cooperation in certain sectors such as digital, semiconductors, and data centers.
We'll go for a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. US President-elect Donald Trump is preparing to select his top team ahead of his return to the White House following his presidential election victory over Kamala Harris. The Republican will be choosing a cabinet and selecting other higher-ranking administration officials in the coming weeks. Republicans now have a Senate majority, which will give Trump far more leverage to enact his legislative agenda. Control of the U.S. House of Representatives remains unclear, with many of the most competitive races still uncalled. If Republicans take control of the House, that would put the party in control of Congress and the White House. Trump has won every key swing states that has been called: Georgia, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. Nevada and Arizona haven't been called yet, but appeared to be leaning Republican. Trump's campaign said the president-elect had spoken to Joe Biden and accepted his invitation for a meeting to discuss transitioning between administrations at the White House. Trump won't have his inauguration until 20th January, and Biden will remain in power until then, though he will be severely limited politically in what he can do. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris has told her supporters to keep fighting in her first speech since losing the 2024 election. She said she would help President-elect Donald Trump with the transfer of power and added that the results of the election must be respected.
But we must accept the results of this election. Earlier today, I spoke with President-elect Trump and congratulated him on his victory. I also told him that we will help him and his team with their transition, and that we will engage in a peaceful transfer of power. This is not a time to throw up our hands. This is a time to roll up our sleeves. This is a time to organize, to mobilize, and to stay engaged for the sake of freedom and justice and the future that we all know we can build together.
For the first time in 20 years, Republicans are on track to win the popular vote in a presidential election. Donald Trump currently leads Kamala Harris with 72.5 million votes to her nearly 68 million as of Wednesday night in the U.S. Although the vote count is still ongoing, Trump is projected to reach the 74 million votes he won in 2020. In contrast, Harris is on track to fall short of the 81 million votes her predecessor, Joe Biden, received in the last election. Trump's growing support comes with notable demographic shifts. Building on his 2016 base, Trump showed strong backing from white working-class voters and surged among Hispanic voters, traditionally a Democratic-leaning group. According to Addison Research exit polls, Trump's support among Hispanics jumped by 15 percentage points from 2020, marking the highest Republican share recorded in exit polls since the 1970s. He also gained 7 points among younger voters, aged 18 to 29, especially among young men. This reshaping of the electorate was most evident in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, the critical blue wall states that were key to Biden's 2020 win. This time around, Trump captured all three, delivering a major blow to Harris. In other news, Israeli strikes on Lebanon kill 40 people and leave 53 injured around the eastern Bekaa Valley and Baalbek city on Wednesday. The capital Beirut is also targeted with fresh strikes hitting its southern suburbs. Footages from Beirut showed a massive fireball and thick black smoke rising into the night sky. In Baalbek city, an Ottoman-era building listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site was also damaged. Meanwhile, in Barja, central Lebanon, rescuers pulled 30 bodies from the rubble of an apartment building destroyed in a late-night strike. Clashes between Israel and Hezbollah have intensified since late September, with non-stop Israeli bombardments and incursions in southern Lebanon. Over 3,000 people have been killed in Lebanon as the conflict continues. Australia plans to introduce a legislation to ban children under 16 from social media, a policy the government says is world-leading. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese says the proposed laws will be introduced in Parliament this year, taking effect 12 months after it is ratified.
And this one's for the mums and dads. Social media is doing harm to our kids, and I'm calling time on it. I've spoken to thousands of parents, grandparents, aunties and uncles. They, like me, are worried sick about the safety of our kids online. And I want Australian parents and families to know that the government has your back.
There will be no exemptions for children with parental consent or with existing accounts. Albanese stressed that the onus will be on social media platforms to prevent access to children, adding that there will be no penalties for users. While several countries have pledged to restrict children's social media use by law, Australia's policy is among the strictest, with the highest age limit. Most platforms currently ask users if they are over 13, but this rule is easily bypassed. The year 2024 is set to be the world's warmest since records began, according to projections by the European Climate Service. Global average temperatures across the year are on track to end up more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, making 2024 the first calendar year to breach this symbolic mark.
Global temperatures in the first 10 months of 2024 have been so high that only a near-zero temperature for the remainder of the year could prevent a new record. The agency attributes the high temperatures mainly to human-caused climate change rather than natural factors like the El Niño weather pattern. It forecasts that 2024 will be at least 1.55 degrees Celsius hotter than pre-industrial times, surpassing the current record of 1.48 degrees Celsius set just last year. This marks a setback for most countries that committed to limiting global warming to under 1.5 degrees Celsius under the Paris Agreement. The data was released ahead of the UN COP29 climate summit in Azerbaijan next week, where countries will discuss increasing funding to address climate change.
That wraps up AWANI tonight. Don't forget to head over to international.astroawani.com for more news and in-depth analysis. I am Farhana Sheikh. Thank you for watching.